Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the February meeting of the Community and Cultural Investment Subcommittee. This subcommittee focuses on our city's efforts around sustainability and recycling, our neighborhoods, parks, arts, libraries, education, and Head Start and homelessness. I would like to call this meeting to order. Today's date is February 1st, 2023, and the time is 10:03 a.m. And we will start today's meeting with call to the public. First, I would like to have a representative from the Law Department read a brief statement on the public comment section of the meeting.
Thanks, Madam Chair. During citizen comment, members of the public may address the subcommittee for up to 3 minutes on issues of interest or concern to them. The Arizona Open Meeting Law permits the subcommittee members to listen to the comments, but prohibits members from discussing or acting on the matters presented.
Thank you. And I also know that we have someone here for interpretation into Spanish. Can you please introduce yourself?
Good morning, Madam Chair. This is Carmen Cota. I will be providing interpretation for a Spanish-speaking audience today. Please give me a moment so I can introduce myself to them. Buenos días. Soy Carmen Cota, yo le voy a servir de intérprete hoy día. Por favor, si van a dar su comentario, pause, hable con claridad y permítame interpretar para poder servirle y hacer el trabajo mejor posible. Gracias. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And now we will turn to staff for any public comment.
We have 4 for public comment today. Our first speaker is Alondra Ruiz, followed by Gracia Beltran.
Hello. Okay. Good morning. I'm just here, from Periwinkle Mobile Home Park. We're being displaced. We're about to be homeless, and I don't see much happening, between the city and our request to be put on the agenda and be heard further. There's still a lot of families that are about to be homeless, and it's very frustrating and confusing that people can just sit down and watch us head towards homelessness. We have single mothers, we have veterans, we have families with children, that are facing not having a home very soon, and originally, just being given 6 months to leave our homes that we own it's not right, it's not moral, it's not Christian-like from Grand Canyon University. And we're just here, asking for more resources, for more help, and we're requesting, that the city help us more with what we're going through, because we don't really know how this is going to end and where we're headed. We just know that as of May 28th, 45 families will be homeless. So we're asking that you work with us and that you open up your hearts and some resources towards us, and just give us more information on how we can fix this, because it's not being fixed currently. So that's all I have to say today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gracia Beltran, followed by Dr. Sylvia Herrera.
Hola, buenos días. También vengo por parte de Periwinkle.
I'm here.
Seguimos en la misma situación. Ustedes ya saben, hemos venido varias veces, no obtenemos respuesta.
We're in the same situation. We haven't received an answer.
Estamos a punto de quedarnos sin una vivienda. Somos muchas familias, niños, ancianos.
We're about to end up without a home. There's many people,
La
there's
universidad,
many children, older people,
¿verdad?
A lot of families.
La universidad GCU sigue avanzando, sigue haciendo sus enormes edificios, muy bien por ellos, muy mal por nosotros. Está a punto de sacarnos. No recibimos ninguna respuesta.
The university continues on. They keep building their big buildings. They go on with their life, but we have not received anything, any response.
Yo creo que cada uno de ustedes sabe la situación que se está viviendo en Phoenix. la vivienda está sumamente difícil.
I think all of you are aware of how the living condition is in Phoenix right now. The rents are super high.
Necesitamos, por favor, hablen con la universidad, necesitamos más apoyo. Tienen que darnos para volver a empezar.
We need your help. Please speak to the university for us. We need more support. We need help so we can start all over.
Hay personas ahí que tienen viviendo ancianos 20 años, son veteranos, y no es posible que no vayan a recibir ninguna ayuda por parte de la universidad.
There's people that have lived there for 20 years. They're veterans. It's not possible that these people are not going to receive any help.
Por favor, ya tomen una solución, nos estamos quedando sin tiempo, sin
Please
cero
make a
opciones.
decision. We're running out of time.
GCU, por favor, que le llegue este mensaje. Muchas gracias por escucharnos, muy amables.
GCU, please hear this message. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Gracias.
Our next speaker is Dr. Sylvia Herrera, followed by Salvador Reza.
Good morning. Once again, we're here because the city has not responded to the request of the residents of mobile home parks. It has not responded to the fact that they're being displaced from the most affordable housing there is in Phoenix. For instance, the city and GCU are still conducting business as usual. Recently, we heard the site review plan between GCU and the city and talking as if the residents are no longer there. They're proceeding with their plan as if the residents were gone several months ago when they had initially given them the date of October. It's been postponed and delayed because of the pressure put on by the residents and the community. However, now they have another deadline that has been issued, and that's been April 1st. They've been told that they have to accept the relocation plan by an agency that has a conflict of interest here. We're talking about Trellis. We're talking about Trellis that has been contracted and hired by GCU to implement the relocation plan, when they should be helping the families look for places. They're offering the relocation plan as if it's something that is going to work miracles for them in finding housing. One of the examples that Trellis is offering is access to their new housing development. That housing development is looking at incomes of 60% of median income. 60% for a family of four is close to $60,000. Not even the teachers in that district make that kind of money. So definitely the families would not qualify for that type of housing. I can go on and on and on, but the pressure continues on the residents, where the city should be putting pressure to look at this issue. Enough is enough. We're still having pending relocation and displacement of the Las Casitas. The RVs have to be out by February 28th, which is this month. The mobile home park at Weldon is also, there's a conflict of interest there with some of the owners and the city. And so their deadline is April 1st. And then Las Casitas also May 1st for the mobile home park. And now GCU has supposedly given till May 28th, but now we're talking about April 1st. They either have to accept that plan and that offer, or they're not going to have anything available to them from GCU. And actually, some of that funding is from the state and elsewhere. It's not from GCU directly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker is Salvador Reza.
Hello, my name is Salvador Reza. I'm not here to say the same thing that we've been saying for the last 4 or 5 months. The mayor decided to punt the ball to you guys, saying that you will have a meeting that we've been requesting instead of a formal agenda. And the solutions that we want to discuss are not even, there's no date for the meeting still. I've been asking Gina Montes, I've been asking different council people, and there's no date for that meeting that was supposed to happen when time is running away. But the main thing is that the solution is in the city council. Why? Because the city council has the ability, and it's not prohibited by law, to actually create a zoning, a mobile home zoning on the existing parks. It might not help GCU, it might not help Periwinkle, it might not help the rest of them, but it will help the future. Yet, up until today, I haven't heard a single thing. The city has done whatever the city could have done, and we thank the city for the vouchers that they've given, for helping people alleviate a little bit of their problems in trying to relocate. Yet, the politics, and we're not naive, we know how politics work. You just punt it down the line, and then it'll go away. Well, this is not going to go away, whether you think it's going to go away or not. Why don't we have a meeting? We're talking to lawyers right now that are willing to come and give their legal opinion that would contradict the opinion of the city attorneys. Yet, we have no date for that meeting. I wish that, start playing game with us, because we're not new at this. We've been here a long time, and we are not going away. Like Sheriff Joe found out, we never went away. Like different entities have found out, we're not going to go away because we're rooted in the community. We are not an organization, we're not a nonprofit. We are a movement of the community, and we will not go away. Thank you very much.
Chairwoman, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Salvador, can I ask a quick question? You had mentioned in the past different cities that have those ordinances. Can you remind me which those are?
Yeah, it's the city of Tumwater, Washington, and they won it in a 9th district decision by an attorney. I think his name is Myers. I have all that information if you need it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just with that, we do have an announcement. We were going to make it at the end of the meeting, but we'll go ahead and do that now. We do have a date for the meeting. It's going to be on February 22nd here at Chambers at 6 p.m. We want to make sure that all the neighbors are able to come in, that people don't need to take a day off from work, and we will have that meeting on that date. Yes, Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just wanted to first thank you for making that happen and doing it in the evening time. And if I could just ask, and we were going to do it at the end as formal meeting request, so we're getting it done now, staff to please research those cities with the zoning that's been talked about. I know Tumwater, Washington was mentioned. Some other cities in Texas have been mentioned in the past. And see if the city can contact those folks and get representatives from them so that we can make sure to have all the information by then. If not, obviously in person, but by phone and try to get that contact. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, we'll make sure that we have all the research done and work with you prior to the meeting to make sure we've got all those things taken care of.
Great, thank you. And with that, we will start, we will next move to approve the minutes of the January meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from January 4th, 2023?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. The motion passes. With that, we will now move on to items 8 through 10, which are for discussion and possible action. Item 8. Okay, sorry, I think I moved ahead. Now we will move to item 2 through 6, which are the following for information only. These items are related to Head Start and our capital improvement programs for our public parks, public art, and our public works department. Would any of my colleagues like to hear more information on any of these items? Okay, hearing none, we will now move on to item 7, which is for information and discussion. This item is related to activation in our city's parks. We will begin with a presentation from Deputy City Manager Inger Erickson and our Director of the Parks and Recreation Department, Cynthia Aguilar.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Cynthia Aguilar is here to present that information for you today.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Happy to be here with you today to provide you with an update on park activation efforts by the Parks Department. Just wanted to start off with what our mission is, and naturally our mission is to build healthy communities through parks, programs, and partnerships, and essentially have amenities throughout our park system and programs that the community can use. We're fortunate to have one of the largest park systems in the country with more than 41,000 acres of desert parks and mountain preserves, more than 200 miles of trails, and 186 parks. While this list on the screen is not inclusive, I've highlighted some of our key amenities, which is really key to helping us keep our parks active. This includes 32 community centers, 29 pools, 11 splash pads, 12 dog parks, 8 municipal golf courses, 6 skate plazas, and 3 skate parks, to name a few. When we discuss park activation, what we're essentially talking about is anything that helps encourage the positive use of our parks. Thankfully, with such a vast park system, the public has a wide range of parks and recreation programs and amenities to enjoy throughout the city. There are numerous benefits of park activation. Positive activation not only helps promote a healthy lifestyle for our residents, but also helps us maintain clean, safe, and accessible parks. There are many methods that can be used to help us activate our parks. In addition to more natural park activation that many of us might enjoy, such as picnicking in the park or using open space and enjoying traditional park amenities, the department also helps further activate the parks by providing our own programs that we coordinate and facilitate ourselves, and many that we facilitate in partnership with community partners. We also seek to ensure our parks are active by providing park amenities that residents will use. If it appears amenities are underutilized, we work with neighborhoods to identify new or modified park amenities that they may prefer to see in their parks. The department is also excited to begin preparations to launch a new neighborhood grant program with ARPA funding that I will go into further detail about later in my presentation. We have identified 6 categories related to park activation that we'd like to focus on today. This will include youth and adult sports, special events, our Fit Phoenix initiatives, programming partnerships, mobile recreation, and targeted park programming. The Parks Department coordinates over 100 leagues annually, and over 5,000 youth and 8,000 adults participate in these programs each year. In addition to leagues, which run for several weeks, the department also offers single and multiple day youth sports clinics to help teach basic skills to youth throughout the city. In addition to our own programming, hundreds of sports organizations also reserve our fields annually. Throughout our park system, we have 77 reservable ball fields and 81 reservable multi-purpose turf fields. These fields are reserved for over 300,000 hours in a typical year. Naturally, all of these things help us activate our parks in positive ways. In addition to consistent programming, many of our parks host special events such as large community fairs and festivals, farmers markets, movies in the park, holiday and community events, and other special recreation programs, games, and activities. Our Fit Phoenix initiative is another program that helps us further activate our parks. Under the Fit Phoenix umbrella, there have been a variety of programs and partnerships that help us promote health and wellness programs for people of all ages and abilities, ranging from virtual and in-person fitness classes to walking events and instructor-led conditioning. The initiative began in 2013, and since then, thanks to multiple partnerships, the department has installed 53 self-led walking paths in urban flatland parks. A Fit Phoenix path includes signage with distance markers and are designed to be family-friendly. This slide shows the most popular Walk Phoenix paths in each of the city council districts. So for the areas that you represent, we can see that Mountain View Park is the most heavily used in District 3, La Pradera in District 5, Cesar Chavez in District 7, and El Prado in District 8. Since the initiative started, more than 10,000 community members have engaged in Fit Phoenix programs, and even more impressively, more than 1 million residents use Walk Phoenix paths annually. The department has also leveraged more than $1 million to provide these programs at no cost. Therefore, all Fit Phoenix programs are free to the public. This would not be possible without over 35 partnering organizations. We are also proud of our ongoing partnership with Maricopa County Parks RX. Through our partnership, we have further extended the capacity to activate our parks. Together, we work to coordinate events and activities in the park that foster positive relationships between neighborhoods, partners, and healthcare providers. Examples of programming include group walks, yoga, community gardening, and other recreation and fitness events. We're also currently working with Maricopa County Parks RX to expand the number of parks where this programming is currently delivered. The Parks Department also manages the Mobile Recreation Program, which provides free mobile after-school recreation programs for youth. The program is provided by recreation staff who visit parks without an existing community center in one of the 4 vans that you see in this picture. Each van has a different focus to provide 4 types of programming, which include STEM, music, arts and culture, gaming, and sports. The department is currently working to fill vacancies within the program to be able to fully deploy all 4 vans on a weekly basis. In addition to the mobile rec programming I just mentioned, the department also coordinates more targeted type of park activation programming. Similar to mobile recreation, part-time staff deliver programming 2 to 5 days a week during out-of-school times in the fall and spring. These programs rotate through different parks across a city and focus on parks that, again, do not have a rec center and are not part of the mobile rec programming program. Additionally, our staff work with neighborhoods to determine what types of park amenities they wish to see to help maintain parks that are active. At times, we find communities' needs have changed, and some amenities may have become underutilized. In these circumstances, we work with them to help identify amenities they would use. The 2 photos in this slide are from Perry Park, and this used to be a tennis court that was in need of repair, was not something the community had told us they were using any longer, and instead preferred to see a skate plaza, and we worked with some partners to help do this, and if you've been there, you know it's now active and activated on a daily basis in this space, and it's been really a neat transformation to see. Also new and coming soon, and what I'm excited to share today, is that the department will be using $500,000 in ARPA funding to develop a grant program for neighborhood organizations listed with the City of Phoenix Neighborhood Services Department. Neighborhoods will be able to apply for funding specifically to coordinate and implement free park programs and community events in parks that serve people who reside in qualified census tracts. We recognize we have a large park system. It's very hard for us to activate every single park on a daily basis, and we feel this will truly be something that's beneficial for neighborhood parks throughout the city. The ARPA funding will first be used to help recruit and hire a grant program administrator who will be dedicated to creating and managing this program. We are working right now to ensure this is a timeline that we can meet in terms of making sure the funding to hire that position will be available to us within this time frame. So this is really our ideal timeline that I'm showing. We would use February and March to post, recruit, and hire the person that would oversee this program. They would then need April and May to really design the program, develop it, develop marketing items, a website, and then look at the summer to actually opening the grant application process. This is something, I know I've heard positive feedback from you about the Office of Arts and Culture's neighborhood grant program, and so we're really looking to mirror that process. Their process is about a 6-month process from the time when the application opens to when the neighborhoods are awarded the funding. And so we would look to follow that, which would allow us time to work with the neighborhoods to have grant workshops as they do and provide technical support and assistance. Essentially, then they would go to an internal city for review, and then the Parks Board. The arts grants go to the Arts Commission. These would go to the Parks Board for final approval. And if all goes well, that approval would happen in October, and we could look in the fall around November to actually awarding the funds. Neighborhoods would then have 1 year to spend the funding, the ARPA deadline, which is the end of 2024. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, Cynthia. You know, our office has been doing a lot of parks events. It's really good to see Perry Park up there. I think that was really successful. Sorry, Inger, they didn't turn into pickleball courts. I know that might happen in some other parks, but that along with some other community events have really helped us. There's still a lot of work to do in that park, but it's really allowed us to shift things. So I think being able to invest in our parks in this way is really exciting. I think we've had a lot of different conversations throughout the years. One of the conversations we don't have is how all this programming was defunded after 2009. It was completely gutted, both after-school programs. You know, speaking of Perry Park, we had, instead of that van, we had a building there. And unfortunately, for 10 years, it hasn't been used, and we had to knock it down. And so I do, you know, really grateful for this program, for the grants program. Had questions around if there are limits or some of the process. But I really want us to start thinking through, especially as we go into budget season, how we can restore some of that funding. I think we just, with public comment, had a conversation about people losing their homes. A lot of the conversations we unfortunately have around parks right now are negative ones of people who, you know, are bothered by some of the folks that have to stay there, but at the same time, we still can't figure out how else to support them. And so I think it's important to make sure. You know, we've seen other cities, and studies have shown that cities like Chicago, Seattle, LA, that when these community spaces are activated, and, you know, unwanted activities tend to go away, and health outcomes improve, and we have a better sense of safety, and the parks are being used for what they're intended for, but at the same time, we're still taking care of everyone. So. I mean, you probably won't have the answers now, but I think as we go into the budget season, and I know I'm going to be asking a lot around what was our funding looking like in 2009, where has it gone? You know, some of the events that we've helped host with communities, like movies in the parks, can run up to, it seems simple, but it can run up to $5,000. And we've had, you know, some organizations, some that may be present here today, cover those costs and doing events on their own and kind of doing some of the things we should be doing. So grateful for them, but excited to have these partnerships. So first question is on those direct grants, what's the process, more details, what it's going to look like, who do they apply to, who makes the decision, and is there going to be a limit to the amount that's granted?
Sorry. Sure, Madam Chair, Councilmember Garcia, and members of the subcommittee. Some of those details we're still working out, but we envisioned the limits ranging from $2,500 to a maximum of $10,000. I think that's also similar to the arts process that we're trying to mirror. So those are the limits that we're currently looking at right now. In terms of the application process, it would be managed directly by the Parks Department. We would do something similar as arts, create an own internal city staff-led committee to review those and to approve them or recommend approval to the Parks Board, who would have the ultimate authority to give that approval. Mirroring that process again in arts, that would happen one time this year, and then they would have 1 full year from that point to use those funds. Some of the feedback we heard is maybe reimbursement types of systems are a little hard to do for neighborhoods, so this would not be that type of system. They would actually receive the funding directly in the entire amount, and then we would have internal processes where quarterly reports are due, and we would work with those neighborhoods to give us the information that we need to show if they've spent it, when they plan to spend it, and just make sure it's following all of the ARPA regulations in terms of what it can be used for.
So it would be equivalent to like how Block Watch grants, can you compare it to?
Councilmember Garcia, I would say the difference is the reimbursement piece. I've been told that Block Watch grants are reimbursed and they have to submit receipts, and that maybe some neighborhoods have found some parts of it a little cumbersome. So we're trying to streamline some of those things to the extent we can.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think the last thing I'll say, I'm like, again, it might not sound so excited, but I'm really excited. So I don't know how else to show that. I really see this as like a pilot for us to figure out how we can re-support our parks like we used to, and then figure out, hopefully it's an argument for myself and my colleagues to continue to invest parks in this way. And I think I've seen a lot of us being able to use the ARPA funds for that. And so thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank my colleagues in advance, but I think it's going to be a great opportunity, and hopefully, kind of asking you to make sure we keep data, keep the successes, kind of be able to document that so that we can make the argument to continue a steady program that moves beyond the ARPA fund. So thank you so much for this work.
Thank you. Councilwoman Stark?
Thank you. And I just want to kind of build on what Councilman Garcia was saying. I think this is a great idea, and I know it's ARPA funds, and I know those funds will go away, but I think this is the kind of program I like to see long term. For example, as you know, in Sunny Slope, we have Slope Fest, and they're always having a difficult time trying to raise money, but it is a very successful event. It brings out the entire community. And so would something like that qualify? And then if this became a long-term program, I would love to see those kind of events get some priorities, because it really does build the Sunny Slope community up. So.
Sure, Madam Chair, Councilwoman Stark, and members of the subcommittee. Yes, as long as it's a neighborhood who's listed as an official neighborhood group with the Neighborhood Services Department, they could certainly apply for the funding. And then the other caveat I would add is, since it's ARPA funding, the event would need to take place in a park that serves people who reside in qualified census tracts. So I don't think that would be a problem. I think that particular event would meet that criteria.
Great, thank you. Again, I think this is exciting, and I hope we can see this continue in the years.
Chairwoman?
Yes, Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I just also want to echo my support. I'm very excited about this program. I think, as my colleagues have already said, it's going to be we've shown that park activation makes a huge difference in areas where neighbors especially indicate issues in their parks. Very soon, Councilmember Garcia and I are doing an activation at the Levine Area Conveyance Channel, which is another area in both of our districts that neighbors are constantly asking for improvements and investment. And I think just being able to just host events and show the potential of a space makes a big difference. So I guess I'll add my voice to the choir of folks asking for ways to find to make this program permanent beyond ARPA funding. And then the only question I had, Cynthia, you mentioned the specifics around needing to be a neighborhood group. If a community does not have a neighborhood organization, is that something that we can help them with to make sure that they're eligible for this opportunity?
Yes, Madam Chair, Vice Mayor Ansari, and members of the subcommittee, yes. If there is a group in such a situation, we would be able to help them work with the Neighborhood Services Department, make sure they get in contact with them to make sure they can become a listed neighborhood association.
Okay, great. And then this $500,000 is for the upcoming year, or is there a deadline on when the funds need to be spent?
Madam Chair, Vice Mayor Ansari, this funding would just need to be utilized by the end of 2024, so by December of 2024. Based on our current timeline, that should give neighborhoods about 12 or 13 months to utilize that funding.
Okay, got it. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I just have one question. I was going to ask it a different way, but I guess I'll ask it differently. Who cannot apply for this money?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I would say who cannot would be any individuals, nonprofit organizations, businesses per se. This is really intended to be for neighborhoods and those that are recognized by the City of Phoenix as official neighborhoods through the Neighborhood Services Department.
Because one of the things that I've been seeing, with our different programs that we have within the city, like we have, we have the little soccer league, we have t-ball, we have, Phoenix, junior sons. And we know that there's like some of those coaches that really struggle in terms of being able to, because I think they're offering kids now only once a week of practice and 1 day of the game. Would it be possible for them to, if they had their own league and it was just like a personal league, would they be able to apply for some of this money to be able to provide more playtime for the kids?
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, that's a great question. I think as we developed a program, we could certainly make it so that something like that could be feasible. What I would say to that is that it still wouldn't be an individual, such as an individual coach, that would apply, right? But if that individual is part of a neighborhood association who would then look at it as activating their neighborhood park where the practices are held, that neighborhood could certainly apply for the funding to help support a league, a team, a clinic, something of that sort to host, whether it's one time or for several weeks in that particular park.
Got it. Okay, well, I just think we should just make that very clear as we're getting out there, because I know that a lot of neighborhood leaders that do have, little soccer leagues, and they have baseball, t-ball for the kiddos. I don't think that they would feel that they could apply for this money. So as we're moving forward, we should make that clear that if they are part of a neighborhood association and it is part of their park, I'm thinking about the different parks in D5 where we have folks that would love to do some soccer with the kiddos and do some t-ball. So let's just make sure that we make that very clear on how they can actually apply for that money. I think would be great. And again, just echoing what everyone else has said, as a mom of two young kids, I see how exciting this is for our families. I hear about it from folks in the district all the time. Just thanking all of the Parks RX people that have been out to Homestead Park and helped us really activate that park and the work that they're doing. Then I bumped into them over at Perry Park this past weekend. So they're all over the place, and I just want to thank them in particular for all of their hard work and everything that they do to activate our spaces, and just hearing them how they go out and they recruit and they train new moms in different parks throughout the whole city, especially our census tract areas. I think it's very exciting what this can actually become, and it can actually become a pilot on how we get moms to go talk to moms and to activate our parks and to making sure that we have healthy spaces for our kids. I think that's incredibly important, and hoping to see how we maybe someday put this as part of our budget and seeing how great this program can actually be for our families once we have no ARPA money to put into this. So thank you so much for all of your hard work. Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Chairwoman. You brought up one question. So just to clarify, just like teams, nonprofits, and other orgs, they would have to team up with the neighborhood association to be able to put an application together. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, Councilmember Garcia, that's correct. The applicant itself in this model would need to be a neighborhood association listed with neighborhood services, but there's no reason they couldn't partner. As many of these groups, events, leagues do, they have numerous partners, so long as they're part of the neighborhood group listed with the city.
Good. Thank you. And I think obviously, I've said this before, I think one thing that I think can come of this is that we actually start creating park associations, or, I think we had mentioned, Pack the Park Cruise or something, but it's associations that may be designed or are part of an individual park, just like, Blackwatch has a certain area. I think being able to organize and have committees at each park would also be helpful. So thank you. I think this could be a beginning to that.
Great. And just one last addition, I think that we should include nonprofits, right? I mean, we should figure out how is it that they can be a partner and what type of assets they can actually bring. I know there's a lot of people out there that want to help us with that activation, so I would just ask that we include that, but obviously making sure that they're within the community, right? We wouldn't want someone from the outside to just come in, but I just think under those same parameters, but adding in nonprofits as well.
Sure, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, we do have from the first round of ARPA money, we do have a pot of funds that nonprofits are already eligible for, but we can still look at that, and then in our briefings as we start to develop this program, we can kind of flush through some of those things if that's helpful.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. Are there other comments, questions?
Madam Chair, you do have 6 speakers.
Okay, great. Let's go to the speakers.
Our first speaker is Samuel Gomez in person, followed by Thomas Kelly.
Good morning, buenos dias. Thank you for having me. I just want to share my experience with, as the executive director of the Sagrado and working in South Phoenix. Last year we had our 5th annual Forever Rising youth show. We showcase youth from South Phoenix, and we work with teachers in South Phoenix, and it was beautiful. We worked with other community organizations. Thank you, District 8, for the support. And we basically activated with art, music, food. We work with Robinson's Ranch across the street. They do therapeutic programming with horses and other animals, and we were able to support them to be part of the event. We work with local artists. We were able to do a mural on site at the time with the help of community members and well as youth with artist Adrian Garcia here, sitting here. And it was just a beautiful collaboration. And from that, it kind of stemmed to some beautification at Perry Park. And we were able to make connections there with the community there, with the young artists there that will later showed at one of our shows months later. So like just the community bridges and just building community. And I think when we think about the parks, I look at them as like cultural centers. They're pretty much like low-hanging fruit cultural centers, and with the right design and activation and programming, it makes arts and culture more equitable. And so I really see this as a great way to expand arts and culture, but also to bring communities together. And I think the common ground for everybody that families have at the park, and I was at Circle K Park this past weekend, and just seeing the families there and people using the workout station, the calisthenics. And I think that's another thing when we talk about the parks. There's a health equity there it's right there. We just need to invest in it. So like when we talk about programming, how do we have more like programming that's like calisthenics? Maybe we have somebody that comes and teaches people how to use the equipment every Saturday, right? So it's the same thing. It's creating workshops within the park. So I'm excited to, you guys to make this push through. Like I said, it's equitable for everyone. It's needed, and it's a healing space. And once again, it's just like bringing people together at these parks and making it equitable. So thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Thomas Kelly, followed by Adrian Garcia.
Yeah, I won't take too much of your time, but as somebody who was very actively engaged in transit-oriented development, who was part of the Coronado neighborhood group for a long time, neighborhoods well engaged are so important to really optimizing the assets of a community, and certainly the parks are right at the top of that list. So I think this is a great proposal, and I think increasing the use of the parks, learning how to migrate them to the needs and desires of a new generation. In the end, all of this is about our grandkids, and it's worth taking the time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Adrian Garcia, followed by Dana Burns.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Adrian Garcia. I'm a local community artist here in Phoenix, Arizona. Also sat on the GEO Bond subcommittee for 2022. I just want to give my support for this program. I'm super excited for it. I'm here for the people and the communities, and things like this are just imperative to us, the people. I speak from the heart of what we need. COVID was a very difficult time for everybody and the families, and how everybody was kind of, not really embracing the parks. We couldn't go to the park. So things like this for activations and working with, District 8 and the things that we've accomplished, I'm excited for the future. And just to have this for me is a great win to take back to my community and my people, and whatever resources and things that I need, you have. I work with a permanent voice with the Sagrado, and I just got a lot of things to do, and I'm super excited, and I'm here for whatever is needed of me, however I can be of service. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Dana Burns in person, followed by David Davison online.
Good morning. So yes, I am Dana Burns. I'm the founder of A Permanent Voice, South Phoenix born and raised, baby, and I am excited about this, okay? So yes, we partnered with District 8. Thank you, Councilman Garcia. We had a great Christmas in the Park at Esteban Park for our community. This revived, restored, recovered everything we had forgotten about, who we were in South Phoenix. It came back. Honey, our kids were out there playing in the jump houses. Our grillers were grilling. I used to be a former DJ and radio host on KXEG, so I was the MC that day. District 8 got the stage out. It was amazing. And we came out of pocket for it. So to hear what you all are coming to us with this is great. And so investing in the community is investing and helping us to remember who we are, our culture, how powerful we are as a people. You've activated our voices again, and I'm excited about it. We had our artists out there with the kiddos. Oh my God, we had over like 200 people at Esteban Park. At once upon a time, we lost who we were at Esteban. It was a green landfill or whatever, dirtied, but it came back. And that's what we want. We want the city to come back. And y'all come with us. Next time I have something. I didn't already email Councilman, his assistant over here, like, girl, I'm ready for this year. So I'm excited. I'm so grateful. Mayor, council, city manager, I need to see y'all out there when we do it again. Y'all who in here, this building too, come on. Let's make it happen for our community. We are the best in the West, city of Phoenix. Let's go, baby.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Chairwoman, that's the energy I wanted to put out there. So thank you, Ms. Dana, for doing it. But also just want to publicly thank the three of you, Adrian, Sam, and Ms. Dana, for your work on the Go Bonds and really pushing for art in the parks. You all did amazing. And, you know, hopefully everybody's going to work together to get the bond passed. But you all did great in making sure that our communities were prioritized. So thank you publicly.
And if I can just add, you guys inspired Councilmember Garcia to then have these creative ideas to say, we got to do something, right? So the energy definitely translated. So thank you guys so much.
Our next speaker is David Davison, joining us virtually, followed by Victor Valdez. David, are you online? Our next speaker is Victor Vidales. Victor, are you online?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Chairwoman Guardado and council members and the subcommittee. Appreciate the time to speak on in support of item number 7. I'm with SOFO Convening. I'm one of the founding members. SOFO Convening, our mission is to protect, preserve, and unify the culture, commerce, and community in South Phoenix. Being an official neighborhood group, this really excites us. We've actually been able to work directly with Councilman Garcia and his staff to, find grants within the city to activate Circle K Park. And we have just gone through a process of master planning Circle K Park, which really has brought out the community. Our last meeting, we had over 100 people show up to Circle K Park interested in all the new amenities that are potentially going to be coming to Circle K Park in the future. But one part that's missing, and I think got brought up by a lot of folks in the community that showed up, was about the programming. And this right here is instrumental. Hopefully, in these 3 years of using the ARPA money, it'll show that needs to be a commitment for some sustainable funding to program these parks well into the future. So thank you, Councilman Garcia, for all your help in supporting our neighbors in Circle K Park area. We really appreciate you and your staff, because without that, we wouldn't have gotten to this point. And now this takes us to the next level. So we're looking forward to not only getting the parks programmed and funded, but also to get that master plan funded and working with leadership and those in the city to really make this park an example of what communities can do when they come together and desire this safe, programmed, park that's going to give life to people. Thank you, and you guys have a good day.
Thank you. Because can we once again for David, see if no. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone that came in to speak. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for all of your hard work on this item as well. And again, thank you, Councilmember Garcia, for all of the creative ideas. And with that, if there's no other questions, we will move to item 8. It's the Home Service Line Warranty Program. We will begin with Deputy City Manager Ginger Spencer in the City Manager's office.
Madam Chairwoman and members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to come today to talk about the Home Serve program. It is an opt-in program, a city-endorsed program that we've offered to our Phoenix water customers over the last 10 years. We're excited to be here today, and thank you for the opportunity because we get a lot of questions about this program. So here with me today, we have Brian Davis. He's the National Director of Home Serve, and he's going to talk about the current programs that we offer for our water and sewer service lines, as well as accomplishments to date and their work, as well as talk about their new program offerings as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Davis for the presentation.
Thank you so much, Ginger. Thank you. Good morning. It's great to be here, committee chairwoman and subcommittee members. I'm Brian Davis with the National League of Cities Service Line Warranty Program. It was 10 years ago, roughly, that I was in the same room when our program was approved for the first time. And I'm excited to give you that update 10 years later as to how far we've come, what we've done, and the positive impact we've made in the city of Phoenix. So this program is 15 years old now, and the National League of Cities was looking to solve the issue of aging infrastructure of older U.S. cities. And what they discovered was that not only are older cities' infrastructure, water, sewer lines aging, but so are the homeowners. And there is not really any type of homeowners insurance that covers that lateral water and sewer line that connects from the city's lines to the home. So when these lines break, homeowners are oftentimes stuck with a very expensive bill. They will call their insurance company and they see that they're not covered. They will call their city council person and they'll find out that the city doesn't cover these lines, and it can be very expensive, very costly. So what this National League of Cities and HomeServe have put together has been what you've participated in, an optional program that allows homeowners to sign up for a water and sewer line warranty so that when these lines break, a plumber will be dispatched, and at no cost to the homeowner, we will repair or replace that line. So after 10 years of participation, I wanted to share some of the highlights, and this is really exciting. So as part of this program, we not only are repairing water lines, we're not only using local contractors to do the work, but we're also creating a low-income assistance fund, a revenue stream that will go back to the city. And to date, that fund from us has been $3 million that we have given to the city of Phoenix. And we're just about to cut our largest check so far that will be over $500,000. It can really make an impact, especially for people that can't even afford the warranty and then have a water line or sewer line issue. But also to date, we have spent $7.4 million on repairs in Phoenix for your homeowners. So that means that in the city of Phoenix, $7.4 million has stayed in the pocket of your residents and has been directly injected into the local economy. And so we have nearly 50,000 active policies within the city of Phoenix, which is fantastic. So this would not have happened without your support, and we're very excited to continue this partnership. This slide here, I want to start off with saying that I have made a slight mistake because we have actually saved you more than 12 million gallons of water, and I can put together this formula at the very end that's very simple that will show you what you have saved so far and what you can save with what we're proposing. But essentially, this is a program that, and I forgot to tell you in the beginning, Phoenix was the first large city to adopt this program. And we're so thankful for that because now almost every large city in the U.S. has our program. We have almost 1,300 city partners now. And again, we're always thankful for Phoenix for being the first large city to do this. We also have saved homeowners $2.4 billion in the past 5 years on water and sewer lines throughout North America, water and sewer line replacement. So again, having a huge financial impact on communities. In the Phoenix area, we have Mesa, we have Tucson, Avondale, Tempe. So your neighbors are also involved in this, and again, you were the first to do it. Job creation, that is a huge part of our program, is creating jobs in the metropolitan areas that we work in. And to date, we now employ over 220 plumbing contractors in the Phoenix area, 220 people. And we have given revenue and donations through our HomeServe Cares Foundation. We have provided veteran job placement and even apprenticeship opportunities for the various plumbers in the valley. We even have invested in local contractors such as Hayes Cooling in Phoenix.
Councilwoman, can you give me just Councilwoman Stark?
The
yes, I'm so sorry.
employees, do they specifically work for you?
No, ma'am.
They're contractors.
They're contractors in the valley.
So I could hire them without you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Just wanted to say that we are, the contractors that we do work with are vetted, are high standing with the Better Business Bureau, and have to agree to pretty stringent policies and procedures that we put in place. So currently, here's what your citizens or homeowners have access to. And again, this is an opt-in program. So if your citizens do not want it, they do not have to take it. We have had, like I said, 45,000 active policies, and those are people that are opting into it through a letter that goes out that the city approves. So the cost for the water service line coverage is $7.95 a month, and that includes $8,500 per claim, and that's unlimited claims in a year. So it is very difficult to ever pay a penny out of pocket if you have this policy. And for sewer line, it is $9.45 a month, same $8,500 per claim, unlimited claims. So the way this works, and I have an older home and I have the policy, but my city is not in partnership, so I pay about $25 a month combined for these two policies. And I get $2,500 worth of coverage. So you've done a huge service for your citizens by partnering with us to get a lower price and better limits and better terms. But I've used this policy 7 times in 24 months, and I call HomeServe. I don't tell them that I work there. And they send out a plumber. Immediately I get a text, and it shows where the plumber is with their estimated time of arrival, so I don't have to bend my day around when the plumber might show up. They knock on the door, they go out, they fix the problem, they come and tell me it's fixed, and they leave. No service call charge, nothing. It's just very simple, very painless. And then your citizens currently, the way they enroll is either they call us when they get the letter, they can mail us back a little sheet that says they want to enroll, or they can go online and enroll. And of course I won't read these, but we have dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of testimonials. One of my favorites from the area is a council member that said and this has been several years ago, but he said he never had a negative comment about our program, and every time he was at a neighborhood event, somebody at least one time or multiple times would walk up and say, "You saved me $4,000. Thank you. Thank you for this program. Thank you for bringing it to my attention." And then just to wrap up, I want to tell you about future opportunities that we could save even more water and make an even bigger financial impact for the city of Phoenix. We have a new product called ServLine. ServLine is a leak adjustment program. So whereas HomeServe fixes the actual line that's broken, ServLine pays back the citizen when they have a high water bill. So right now, Phoenix is very kind to their water customers. They typically will reimburse or only make the customer pay for 50% of that high water bill. So if my bill is $100 every December, and then this past December it was $1,000, well, I have a leak, and the difference is $900. So currently, the homeowner would pay $450 plus the $100, and the city of Phoenix would forgive $450, and they would lose that water revenue. What our program would do is pay the city of Phoenix $900, and the homeowner would just have to pay what their normal water bill would be. And we would do that once per year or once per 24 months, however the city would like to do that. Now, for this program, it actually goes on the water bill. So we have, it's typically less than $1 a month, and homeowners can opt to get out of the program. So they can go in and say, if I don't want it, they can opt themselves out, and we just will not cover water leaks for that homeowner. So what has happened recently in Las Vegas, because of their water shortage, they said we need two things. We need to stop the leak from happening, and we need to get someone out there quickly to do that. So they asked us about a blanket program where right now everything is optional for your homeowners. But what we're looking at, what we're proposing is if the city of Phoenix were to put the water line warranty to fix their water line and the leak adjustment on a bill, it would be somewhere in the ballpark of $3 a month. And then you would be able to tell your customers, if you have a water line break or a leak, the city has a policy in place that covers both. And so that is what we were proposing today, to give you the update of where we are, to tell you could be another pioneer. You were the first big city to do it. You could be the first big city to roll this out. And what this would save you, the average water leak, we're saving about 2 days of lost water because we're fixing that leak faster, which is about 70,000 gallons of water per water leak. And if you take 500,000 households and you take average of 2%, I'm just coming up with a very low number, we're looking at 10,000 water line repairs a year times 70,000, which is about 700 million gallons of water that we would save Phoenix. So it's not a small impact. It's a very big impact. And that's what we're here today to present and to propose. Thank you so much, Madam Chairwoman and subcommittee members.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. So I myself just had a couple of questions. So first, this is already an established program, right, in the city of Phoenix? This is something, how long has this program been happening?
Madam Chairwoman, it's been in the city now for 10 years, and we have about 20% of the households that are participating in an optional program.
Great. And then you said we have estimates that the current program save Phoenix customers about $7 million. Do you have an estimate of how much water the program has saved the city and all of our residents?
So we had come up with 12 million gallons so far per year, but that number's going to be a little bit higher than that. That was kind of a lowball estimate. But when you look at how much water is lost, and if we were to have that blanket service line warranty for the whole city, the bottom line is lines would be fixed a lot faster, and nobody would fall between the cracks, and that would significantly reduce the lost water.
And if the HomeServe, thank you, and if the HomeServe program was expanded to cover all single-family homes in Phoenix, do you have an idea of how much money we could save city residents?
I think you would be looking in the $20 million range of savings over another decade. And that's really a hard number to quantify, and I don't want to confuse anyone because I confuse myself when I try to explain this, but I'm going to try. We've spent $7.4 million. That is what our contractors have charged us to do the work. We're a professional plumbing contractor network, so we understand if someone is charging us too much for a job. There are times when a homeowner that doesn't have our policy is completely at the risk of whoever comes out to their house, and whatever they say needs to happen is what they pay for. And with our program, we camera the line. We know if it's a clean out, which is a $300 charge, or if it's a repair, replacement, it could be $3,000. There's a huge difference. So we have spent $7.4 million. I would tell you that we've already saved closer to 40 or 50 million.
Great, and here's another complicated question. How much do you think the city would save in water if this is something that we did?
It would be around 700 million gallons a year.
Great, and then just to clarify, this is an opt-in program, right? This is something that neighbors don't have to, it's not something that's mandated, it's something that folks would have to opt out of if they wouldn't want it, correct?
That's correct. So everybody would go into it. That $3-ish would be, and I say that we still need some information from water so we can give you a precise price, but I can tell you that Las Vegas was around $3 and Albuquerque was about $2.50, and that combines the water and the leak program.
Chairwoman and members of the subcommittee, just to add to that clarification and to add to what Mr. Davis has said, for the viewing audience, I just want them to know the current program that we cover, the water line break, right, or a sewer line break, that is an opt-in program. For the numbers to work based off of the current, for the new programs, right, the blanket coverage for all customers, as well as to cover the leak itself, the water bill, that would require participation by all Phoenix customers, residential customers. It does offer an opt-out program, but we would want to, Mr. Davis and his team, to work with our city team just to run through all those numbers to try to keep those costs as low as possible, but make sure we're covering the water department's cost and making sure that's accurate. But that is the difference between the current programs that we offer and their new program offerings.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Councilwoman Stark?
Thank you. I just have a couple questions. First off, I mean, I have a neighbor who's signed to your program. I've not. I would take care of myself if something happened. I mean, and the neighbor down the street is a plumber. I'd probably go to him and get a suggestion. But having said that, forcing the entire city to go into it, especially with people that are on a fixed income, I have some concerns with that. I have an entire neighborhood. It's a 55-plus community, and they're fixed incomes, and it's tough for them, so every dollar matters. Why does it have to be an opt-out program? Why can't it be an opt-in? It would be a lot easier, especially for seniors, to navigate that. And I'm not saying they aren't intelligent people, they could probably figure it out, but why make it more difficult? And then, if we were to do something citywide that was saving us a lot of money, would not, and maybe this is a question for Troy, would not our Water Services Department look at this, especially during a drought? Wouldn't that be something we may want to do ourselves and start that program if it really is worth it? And I know we're looking at water rates, and it's coming up, so I think we need to kind of integrate this idea with that discussion of water rates, especially, again, people on fixed incomes. It's going to be tougher when we're trying to justify our rates going up. And then my last question is, if this is a program that all of Phoenix would have to opt into, wouldn't we have to vet it and have other companies perhaps vie for it? I mean, wouldn't we have to have a process in place legally? I don't think we can just give it to a vendor without having a process.
Those are all great questions, and I can answer the ones that I can answer, which is, right now, if a homeowner wanted to sign up in Phoenix for the water line warranty, it's almost $8, which is a very good price. By blanketing everyone, it would drop it down to more like $2.50, and then with the leak adjustment, it'd be around $3. We have 97% that will stay in the program if it's opt-out. And if someone calls us, and we will put brochures, flyers, website, we will let people know that you do not have to participate in this. So El Paso just recently pushed this out, and what we do is if someone calls and says, hey, I just realized this was on my bill, I didn't get a notification, I don't want to be a part of this, we will not only take them out, but we'll refund them any money that they've spent. Now, we'll do that for the first 12 months. So we'll actually, if they want out and they say they didn't know they were getting charged, we'll refund them. And so our program does have we could keep it as it is where people opt in, and that would be fine too. It makes more of a conservation impact if everybody's participating. And then number two, with the leak adjustment, which is probably less than $1 if we just did that program, that is something that has to be on everybody's bill because it doesn't work if we don't do it that way. It becomes too difficult to cover, and then people that just want to sign up for that 50 cents because those folks are probably the ones that would have already, and they know they have an issue, and they would sign up. So it's just better to cover everyone on that and have them opt out. And we're the only company that has both of those products in the nation. So no one else does this as far as water service line replacement and repair and a leak adjustment. We're the only ones that do that.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, I'm not saying this is a bad idea. I just think we need to vet it, especially in light of us talking about water rates going up. That's going to be a critical issue. And I would like to better understand why our city can't do what you're doing as a way to perhaps save us some money. I mean, that's something I know Troy's smiling saying, oh boy. But I mean, I think it's something worth investigating from our perspective. We like to have our people work on things when we can as opposed to contracting out. But again, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I think we want to help people, and this is a cost that can add up. I get that. It's $4,000, maybe $5,000. Not everyone can afford that, but not everyone can afford $1 or $2 a month either if they're on a fixed income. And again, that's something I'd like to at least have a discussion with my residents on. So, but I appreciate what you're doing. I remember when the program began, it was during the recession, and we were looking at ways to make some money, and this was a money maker for us, partnering with you. So that I'm happy that it's worked out for us. But there is still a lot of questions, especially as we go into water rates. I'm not looking forward to that discussion, but I know we'll have to have it. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, Ginger.
Chairwoman and Councilwoman Stark and members of the subcommittee. So to address Councilwoman Stark's question and her comments, we just wanted to introduce the new program offerings today. If this is something that there is interested in, we could work with city staff as well as the Home Serve team to explore this further. As part of our work that we would do, we'd not only be looking at the numbers, how it would impact our water customers, the water department, we'd also just do our due diligence to see if this is something where it is sole source, where Home Serve is the only company that offers this, or if we need to look at doing a competitive process. But that would be part of our current review. But just like we came with the original program offerings that was approved by council, we thought anything new would require that council approval as well.
Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I think like Councilwoman Stark, you're like trying to figure out what does this mean and how people are going to react to it. I do think, and I think you hit it right on the head, Councilwoman Stark, at the end when we are realistically about to start conversations about having to raise rates ourselves, right? And so in my head, I'm trying to think through, okay, what does this mean? We're going to ask folks to do an extra $3 beyond whatever ends up, the council got, the previous councils before us got to enjoy many years without making increases, and so now we have to pay for it. But I do think, as I think through it, and I'd like to hear a little bit more stories of like how this actually helps folks. And then also in my head, it's like, it's not only if you have a leak, but if it goes too long, then you're liable for, you know, if it goes into your neighbors or goes different places. So I do know that there's urgency there. I do know that there's cost savings for us. There's obviously the conservation conversation. But I do think as we go into this price increase, where it's always unfortunate, we never want to have this conversation because you're going to tell people to give us more money to get the same service. I do think this, and again, thinking out loud, which I probably shouldn't in meetings, but it also feels like it's something that we can provide to people, right? You're getting this increase. Yes, we're opting everyone into this, but you're also now going to be covered for these things. And so I would like to explore more of what it looks like, how folks are going to feel about it. But I do think, especially for folks that don't have, I think, income, I think we often, assume we know, we don't want someone to give $3, but then later what they really can't pay is, the $8,000 that something may cost. And so can you speak more to like real life, how it's helped folks? Like literally, if you could tell me, person X, like this is what happened, this is how we helped, this is how quick we got it done, and some of those stories.
Absolutely. There was a incident the first one that comes to mind in Avondale, where a homeowner had our policy, had a sewer line that completely collapsed, and it was going to be an $8,000 repair or replacement. And at that time, their home was barely worth $8,000. And so it was literally going to put them out of a home. They could not occupy the home because they didn't have a working sewer line. The city was using some of the revenue to provide a warranty for some of the low-income residents, and they were able to use it and allowed the homeowner, his statement was, it helped me stay in my home. So we had a 92-year-old woman in Phoenix right after the program launched that had signed up for the program, and she had not signed up for the sewer line, but had signed up for the water, and she had a sewer line issue. And so we said, well, you only purchased the water line. We'd cover your water line if it broke, but you're not a customer for the sewer. And she just was very emotional, and so it was escalated up to me, and I called her, and I said, okay. I said, if you'll just sign up for the sewer line for 12 months, we'll just repair your sewer line. And so we spent $4,000 on her, and we lost about $3,800 because she wasn't a customer, but we did that. We had another, I could go on this is the last one I'll tell you, but we had, it was a customer here in Phoenix that said that they had not signed up for the program. They had a service line collapse, and they called us. They said that it was going to be $600 clean out. So it wasn't a collapse line, it was just a root intrusion. So they had to pay $600, and she didn't have $600 and didn't know how she was going to. And she said, and the saddest thing about this, and this is going to sound, she goes, this will knock me out of my budget to get my Klondike bars this month. And so we took a little note. She said she buys Klondike bars every week. And she has enough money saved that she can buy them every week for the month. And so we sent a plumber out. We paid the plumber to just clean her line out. And then we had her address, and we sent her a big old box of Klondike bars, like a month's supply of Klondike bars. And she just called and was just elated. That's the kind of, we can't be a partner with the National League of Cities for 15 years and not do things the right way. And that's why we're excited about this blanket opportunity, because as elected officials, you can say, look, we had to raise water rates, but you now do not have to worry about a water line break, an expensive leak. We're covering it, and you take it to the bank. So that's why I think the impact of this program is going to be so great in Phoenix, and I think you're going to be a trailblazer for a lot of the other large cities that do that.
Yeah, I think $3 a month for a box of ice cream, I might jump in on it if that's what we're promising folks. But no, thank you for the stories. So also essentially those 50,000, almost 50,000 people that are paying $15 and only pay 3, right? Because everybody would be paying 3. Okay, and then the other thing, because again, Councilwoman Stark has me thinking about, have you in other places, and I know going back to our budget, is there a way, especially with either in low-income communities or like to me in South Phoenix where we have aging pipes, like we know there's certain areas have aging pipes or the infrastructure wasn't there for the amount of homes we have, so they're a higher likelihood to have this. Have you ever functioned or worked with the city or a grants program where you can kind of give scholarships or people to qualify for assistance to have this?
That's a great question. So yes, the answer is yes. We will. We can even set aside a group of warranties that we could just do pro bono for a year. We would be able to, well, for City of Henderson, Nevada, they're actually looking to buy for their customers the first year at a mega discounted rate, and then they would opt in year 2, and it would go on the bill, and they could just, and they're using some, I'm assuming they're using some ARPA funding for that. But essentially, if there is a need for some sponsorship or scholarship, we have what's called the Home Serve Cares program, and that would help out with that. We would donate however much needed to be done to kind of set up a fund for the Home Serve Cares. But right now you have I think it's $560,000 that it will be coming in the next few weeks from us, and that could go right to a low-income assistance fund to start that right out of the gate.
And then last question, because I wasn't around 10 years ago, and it's very, I did not think of the League of Cities, and I think about them as conferences and lobbyists at the State House. I don't think of you all as service providers. So one, if I don't need the entire history, but like,
yes,
was this something that cities came together, said, this is a need, you're the place to figure it out? Because it is, right, we don't think of you all as that. I think of you as something else. So just kind of wondering if the inception or the concept, how did that come about? And sorry if I missed it, but I just want to be that clear.
Excellent question. About 15 years ago, the National League of Cities started their Enterprise Partnership Program. So they only have a handful, and I think there's maybe 4 partners in total that the NLC has endorsed. And when you do that, you have to take on their name. So HomeServe had to become the National League of Cities Service Line Warranty Program by HomeServe, because they're that enmeshed with us that they just want us to look and feel like the NLC. And so they were looking to solve that issue of private side infrastructure and then large city infrastructure, and how do you stop aging infrastructure problems in the U.S.? And time again, council members, the NLC board said, I have someone that calls me all the time and says, hey, can you come fix this sewer line that collapsed? And my answer has to be no. And they're like, well, homeowners insurance doesn't fix it, so why can't you? And so the NLC saw a need, and they said, although it's unusual, we think this is a partnership that is worth it. So they looked at the companies out there that did it, selected us, and we've been with them for 15 years.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. So I guess just on that and the comments that have been made, Ginger, I guess my question to you is, yes, I'm all about not subcontracting out. I know that I voted no on a lot of the latest votes when we are subcontracting stuff out. I know that we did it around fire hydrants, we did it around these security guards. There's a lot of things that the city is subcontracting out. So yes, I have been a huge advocate when it comes to bringing in the work in-house. So I guess my question to you, Ginger, is, and I don't know if we need Troy to also come up here as well. Like, I would love to have this in-house, but I would also see if there's a way where we can create an apprenticeship program and work together with the union to figure some of this stuff out. But in the interim, I'm not exactly sure how fast we can put something like that together. And then my question is, how fast can we put something like that together? And in the interim, figure out how is it that we can work with this company, because this is a savings, I think, in the long run for all, especially in Maryville. I have a lot of the homes in Maryville are 50, 60 years old. And a lot of these neighbors, might not have a neighbor that can come in and fix their plumbing. They're just not that fortunate, and I think would definitely benefit from this. So I guess my biggest question to you, Troy, is what would that look like, or Ginger, not exactly sure what would that look like if we wanted to create a program like that?
Chairwoman Guardado, great question. You bring up, and as well as Councilwoman Stark brought it up, just the importance of right sourcing. So if we were to explore this program further, part of our analysis that staff would conduct is, does it make sense for HomeServe to provide this service? Is there another company that also provides this service? Should there be a competitive process, as well as comparing it to if this is something that city staff can also provide that service? And then to your point, do we have the staff who can do it? How long would that take to get running, and that sort of thing? That would all be a part of the analysis. But what I will do is I will turn it over to Troy Hayes, our Water Services Director, to talk more specifically about Water Department resources.
Thanks, Ginger, and Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. Yeah, I think the analysis has to be is the utilizing the utility tech job description versus plumbing. Usually on the private side, we engage plumbers. We do that with main replacements and things like that. And so I think with Joe Giudice's work on establishing the plumbing group, working with them, trying to figuring out job descriptions and things like that to do that analysis of what jobs of our existing utility techs who do the work out in the street and in the right-of-way, how much those can translate to that. But I think that's an analysis that we could do. One of the analysis we also have to do is currently there's probably 460,000 service lines in the city or so with both residential and commercial. Is doing the analysis of those assets currently don't belong to the city and aren't the city's responsibility. And if it runs through the bill, essentially they would be transferring that liability back to the city. We would be collecting, revenue from that, or income. And so doing the analysis, as Councilwoman Stark pointed out, of is that internal or external, or how does all of that work? I think that would be appropriate.
Because I think that was one of my other questions, because I thought that was part of the reason why we also couldn't abandon our lease, was because, we are not able to go into people's property and then it becomes a liability. So that's why I thought we always go with the subcontracting side of that, just because the city doesn't want the liability of someone's property. So how would we then work that out?
Right, and that's really, Chairman Guerrero, that's exactly what the issue that we have to sort out is. Currently we're on the public side, and we go to the private side, we have a private company do that. And so that's where potentially an outsourcing community, it might be the appropriate answer for that because of that liability of being on private property and dealing with that. And so that's the analysis that we would have to do.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Okay. Thank you so much for that. So with that, yes.
Just on the opt-out, so if we saw a mass of people opt out, what happens to the cost?
So, great question, Councilmember Stark. Nothing. It would remain in place. That wouldn't drive up or down the cost. And I'll also say that the city of Tempe would be one to call, because they administered their own program called the SLIP program for 10 years. And it was a very expensive journey for them. And so 2 years ago, we replaced their SLIP program and they outsourced that to us. And so they would be a good one to talk to. Okay. They're the only city that I know of that ran an internal service line program in the nation. And it was very innovative, but at the end, it was very expensive for them.
No, I appreciate that. And I think it's worth exploring. I just want to make sure that we're sensitive to our ratepayers, and that as we go into our discussion on increasing water rates, that we're looking at all avenues. And maybe it is better that we do contract it out on the outside. I don't know. I mean, that's an analysis I would expect from us. And I would like to see, I think there's some point, if we have a lot of people opt out, I don't know how you can afford to run the program. So I'd like to see a little bit of analysis of that as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So with that, I would like to make a motion to move item A to the full council for either a formal or policy meeting to discuss a citywide home serve program that covers all single-family homes as part of our discussion about potential changes to the city's current water and sewer rates. But on top of that, I would ask to incorporate all the different comments that were made, bringing in making sure that we have an analysis, making sure that we reach out to the community as well to see how is it that they feel about it, and that we put it together with the increase in the water rate discussions that we're about to have, and bring it all together as a package and see how is it that people feel about this.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
I am, and only because I want to make sure that we have the discussion of the water rates before we proceed with this. So I think sequentially, I'd like to see more discussion on the rates prior to. So, thank you.
Thank you. Now we will move. Thank you so much for the presentation and all the hard work. And I know we have difficult conversations coming up. Thank you. And the motion carries. The gated alley program, we're going into item 9, one of my favorite ones, and we will begin with our Deputy City Manager, Alan Stevenson, in the Neighborhood Services Department.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Today we're excited to share with you an update on the Gated Alley program and seek your recommendation on a couple of enhancements that we feel would provide added value to our residents. I'm joined up here at the table with from Spencer Self, the Neighborhood Services Director, and Yvette Roeder, who's the Deputy Director over our neighborhood engagement and oversees the Gated Alley program. In addition, quickly, I'd like to thank the small but dedicated team who have worked on the Gated Alley pilot program over the last year and continue to. Greg Gonzalez is the Program Manager at NSD, who has been working on this, as well as Stacy Butte, who just was, as a neighborhood specialist, was working on it, but also now is the project manager dedicated to the new Gated Alley program that the council funded with their additional position during the last round. Also, several members from Planning and Development Department, Public Works, Fire and Police Department have been on part of the team as we have developed the Gated Alley pilot program. And thank you to you, Madam Chair, as well as Councilwoman Stark, for your leadership on the Gated Alley program as we've continued to move forward with that. With that, I'll turn it over to Spencer to begin our presentation here.
Thank you, Alan. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, before we get to the newly established permanent program update, we did want to remind everyone that during the program pilot, we installed over 60 gates across the city using $400,000 of Neighborhood Block Watch grant funds. The first tranche was completed by November of 2021 with 23 alley segments, and the second tranche of 41 segments was completed just this past fall. With the first 23 installed for more than a year, staff completed a survey to get feedback from the participating neighborhoods. We were pleased to hear a substantial amount of qualitative feedback, including the quotes you see on the screen. The first resident said, "We feel so much safer, more comfortable leaving our home and being home alone. It has been a benefit in every aspect." And the second, "The benefits are vast and far exceed the financial costs. You can't put a price on feeling comfortable in your home or leaving your home. Thank you." And we heard many more comments than that, just really thanking the city for investing in this program. But we also collected data points based on the experiences of the participants, asking about the frequency of the issues commonly reported before the installations. Of the residents surveyed, no fires or graffiti were reported in the year since the alleys were gated. Only one reported illegal dumping. Only one reported any encampment activity. And only 2 reported any criminal activity. Even those who did report those activities noted a decrease in the activity since the gates were installed. While we were very pleased with the feedback and not surprised with how popular the program is, it was not all roses and sunshine. We did hear that a number of neighborhoods had some issues with the locks, such as locks being cut, or jammed due to being pried open, or locks that were simply faulty. To remedy or reduce these issues, staff worked with contractors to add a metal plate and box to deter the activity, and are working currently with lock companies to find additional solutions to what we're seeing. I will now turn the presentation over to Yvette to talk about the permanent program.
Thank you very much, Spencer. Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee, good morning. So as you know, the City Council approved the permanent gated alley program this past September with the $500,000 budget allocated this fiscal year, which we estimated could fund approximately 45 gates. So with this new program, the funding would not just be used to provide grants for the gates, but for the installation and maintenance of the gates as part of the city's infrastructure. With the program launch, we quickly received an incredible amount of requests, with 137 submitted by mid-January. In fact, just in the first 2 weeks of launch, we already had about 50 requests. So we received about 55 requests. So staff worked hard to quickly evaluate proposals on a first-come, first-served basis, getting feedback to those who still needed additional signatures, and forwarding eligible requests to partnering departments for their evaluation. Now, based on the evaluations completed, we now estimate that we can install gates for 46 segments, with work starting in the early spring and finishing in late spring to early summer with the 2 contractors that we have on board. So as of January, we have 137 requests, as I said, and 46 have already been approved for funding, which leaves 91 additional requests that have not been funded. Now, of those 91 remaining requests, 32 alley segments are eligible and ready to go, 14 segments are not eligible at all, and 45 requests are still under review. With the permanent program, those 32 eligible are projected to be part of next year's budget starting in July, assuming, of course, no changes to the program or funding are going to happen. However, Spencer will come back to that in just a moment. So, Spencer?
Thank you, Yvette. With the rollout of the program, we have had a couple of unique opportunities arise that I think we believe are worth considering as the program moves forward. The first came as a request from one of the original early pilot program participants in the Royal Palm neighborhood. Before gate standards were developed, this neighborhood had designed and installed beautiful custom gates, and they were wondering whether they could still install similar gates under the new gated alley program. As Yvette mentioned earlier, one of the big changes with the new program was that it made the installation and maintenance of the gates a city responsibility rather than the responsibility of the neighborhoods. While the custom gates are beautiful and help promote the neighborhood brand, it would not be practical for us to maintain custom gates across the city, both as a matter of cost and vendor coordination. However, we do have a proposed solution. To add an option for neighborhoods with approved gated alley requests to seek customization of their gates. And so in order to be eligible for the customization option, the requester would partner with an established nonprofit or business registered with the Arizona Corporation Commission. And this could be a neighborhood organization itself if they have a nonprofit, such as Royal Palm. They would need to agree to receive prior review and approval of the gate design, which must meet or exceed the gated alley program design standards. Agree to separately fund any cost beyond the average installation cost per gate. We wouldn't want to unduly benefit a neighborhood who selected this option. They would agree that the city would reserve the right to remove or replace the gates with standard gates if they are not maintained in good appearance and working order. And agree that if the gates are not completed within the fiscal year in sufficient time for the city to expend the funds, those funds may not be available. The partnering nonprofit or business would be required to enter into an agreement with the city to install the gates in accordance with the above criteria and be reimbursed up to the average amount for the cost, or the city could direct pay the installation contractors if they meet the additional requirements. The agreement would require all necessary permits and approvals to be obtained, gated alley program locks be used, and any other necessary procedures or standards. This would allow for neighborhood customization without setting the neighborhood up for disappointment when the city couldn't support the ongoing maintenance of the gates. Additionally, in February of 2022, the City Council approved a 27th Avenue Corridor Community Safety and Crime Prevention Plan that included an activity to identify potential alleys as appropriate to recommend further expansion of the Gated Alley Program pilot as part of the prevention and intervention strategies. A similar plan was later developed for the 19th Avenue corridor as well. While the Gated Alley Program provides broad funding for citywide alley gates, limited funding does not currently allow for the prioritization of these corridors, which are predominantly in low and moderate income census tracts. So Yvette mentioned earlier that I would come back to the discussion about funding. What we're recommending is to use community development block grant funds as available to help fund the additional gates in these corridors to meet the goals of the council-approved plans. And with that, staff requests the subcommittee recommend City Council approval to allow neighborhoods to install customized gates based on the specific criteria I mentioned earlier, and to use CDBG funds as available to gate additional alleys in the Community Safety and Crime Prevention Plan areas. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yes, Councilwoman Stark.
Just a comment. As you know, I support gated alleys. But I do like the idea of branding. I think that in various parts of our city, we have neighborhoods that really feel they live in a special area. And so I think probably one of the best arguments to allowing this is to make sure that we embrace our neighborhoods and make them feel that they really are special. I think this is a great request. So thank you. Thank you for everything you guys have done on this.
Great, thank you guys so much. But before we go to more comments or questions, I know that we have 3 virtual speakers. Can we have them go first? No, thank you for that.
Our first virtual speaker is Tony McKenzie, followed by Sandra Oviedo. Tony, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please begin.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Hello. Me in the neighborhood, we're just off 19th Avenue and Glendale on the east side. And our alley is the very first alley that you hit if you're coming down south from Glendale, because you have to come behind the business, behind the complex, the apartment complex, and then you hit our alley. So we always get a lot of people that come in and out of the alley, camping out, leaving trash behind. And, we've had abandoned vehicles, stolen vehicles in the alley that we've had, police had to come and take care of. And a couple of those vehicles, kids just came in and completely destroyed the vehicle. And of course, all the trash and everything is left. The neighbors, we are responsible. And we're getting kind of tired of the campouts so that we get in that alley. I mean, yeah, and we used to have, and we do have people dumping trash, yard waste, not so much anymore because we don't have our trash cans back there, but we still have it. And so, people left tents, mattresses, clothing, mats, hazardous materials, needles, bottles, all kinds of trash been left behind because they came on camp out and then they leave all this stuff behind. And we've also had people going down the alley, scoping out houses for theft. And then we also get a lot of cars coming back and forth from 15th Avenue to the apartment complex, both back and forth, because they use the alley as a shortcut. And it drives all the dogs in the neighborhood crazy, but it's still annoying. So we're looking to get our alley pushed up into the eligible, so it can be processed, so it can be gated as soon as possible to prevent these issues, because we have had several robberies over the years because the alley will jump in. I mean, I've lost a bicycle. My neighbor had all his military stuff stolen and stuff from his parents. So that's what we're looking to do. And so hopefully we can get our stuff moved up into one of the top of the list, because I don't know what the list looks like.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sandra Oviedo, joining us virtually, followed by Linda Blackford. Sandra, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, please begin.
Very good. Hi, everyone. We're very fortunate to be one of the first to have a gated alley. Let me tell you a few of its benefits. There has been about 90% reduction of suspicious individuals, especially late hours of the night. The gates have stopped the dumping like mattresses and large pieces of appliances. The gates accomplish to stop vehicles from speeding and damaging the walls. Our backyards are secure because the alley has no free access to groups hanging out and doing drugs, also breaking into homes. Overall, having these gates have reduced unwanted activities significantly. I'm very pleased that Councilwoman Guardado and the team mentioned for creating a safe environment for these gates in our neighborhoods. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our final speaker is Linda Blackford. Linda, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please begin.
Okay. I live on West Palmer Avenue, and I resided there for 50 years. And we've been a block watch neighborhood for 15 years. I can truly say when it comes to the alleys, I've seen everything. Our neighborhood was accepted for the Gated Alleys pilot program in 2020. I want to thank Betty for helping our neighborhood get selected for this program. Our gates are up, and we will be celebrating at our next Block Watch meeting in April with a banner cutting ceremony and a champagne toast. We are so thankful for our gates. I thank you for inviting me to speak.
Thank you. So with that, we will take comments from the rest of the council. Councilmember Garcia.
First of all, thank you both for all the work you've done on this. I was not skeptical, but wishing we can abandon them and just give people land from the beginning. So I'm glad this has worked. I'm glad it's moving up there. Some of the things that I want us to work on, I know signature gathering has been troublesome, and so wondering if there's some technology or different ways in which we can help folks. I think it depends on how active some of our council offices are, or times allotted, or NSD staff, or however. So just trying to figure out if there's a better way, or have you all thought about better ways of doing that? And also with the 14 ones that were denied, I know there's different situations for each one. And so as we move forward and we're looking at different ways or different criteria, is that also going to allow us to explore ways in which we could add alleys in places that maybe weren't eligible before? That makes sense.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair and Councilmember Garcia. I think those are both excellent questions and things that we're constantly looking at. How do we kind of build the better mousetrap when it comes to this program? Because we learned so much during the pilot, but we continue to learn. I know that for the signature gathering, that is something that we're looking at from multiple angles. We're looking certainly at technology and ways that we can gather signatures electronically, trying to work with our IT group and the IT department on that. But more so, we know that one of the biggest challenges that we've run into is owners versus tenants. In a lot of the areas of our community, especially the older communities, we have a lot of owners who may live out of state. They're just not that connected to what's going on in the community. And we want to be able to still serve their tenants who are here and a lot of times are very active and work with us as partners. And so one of the things that I didn't add to the presentation because it can be complicated enough, but I'll use this as an opportunity to discuss. In addition to the $400,000 of the neighborhood block watch funds that we used as part of the pilot, another $98,000 was set aside specifically for the area around the Human Services campus. And in those areas that have been selected for those funds, we've been trying very hard to gather signatures, and this is something that our staff is boots on the ground, knocking on doors, talking to folks, and that's the biggest issue is there's a lot of tenants. And so we've tried reaching out to the owners. We've used all of the tools in our toolkit to try to get them to engage, to talk to us, let them know, even if they don't want it, just talk to us. And we're not finding success in that. And so I know one of the things that several council offices have mentioned to us is, can we do an opt-out instead of an opt-in? I know you guys just had a presentation about some of that, so to kind of further that dialogue. That is something that we have re-engaged with our partner departments and their attorneys and our attorney to talk about, okay, what could this look like? Because ultimately, we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we gate alleys and then someone comes out and says, whoa, 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 you never talked to me, I didn't know about this, I didn't want it. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about owners who've been given every opportunity, and it doesn't seem that they have an opinion one way or another. And we have tenants who this would drastically improve their lives. And so that is something that we intend to dive back into to figure that out. And then to your second question about the alley segments that have been denied. So they can be denied for a variety of reasons. A lot of times it's because one of the neighbors along that alley does not have a fence or wall, or there's not one to connect it to at the beginning of the alley. Sometimes we can adjust around that. We can set the gates a little bit further back, but sometimes that's just not an option. And so we do want to work closely with those neighborhoods to talk about, okay, what can they do? And so maybe they're not ready right now for the gated alley program, but that doesn't mean that they won't be in the future. And I know some of the council offices have also worked with neighborhoods as well. What we like to do is also engage with businesses around the community to see, could someone donate to help build that wall? That way we can have that connectivity. So yes, we're working on those things, as well as there's a couple of items that fell out of the program original parameters, things like utility easements. We are looking at whether or not in the future those could be added back in, depending on the legalities and the partners at the utilities and who we're working with.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Okay, so with that, I would like to make a motion to approve the option for neighborhoods to install customized gates on gap alley segments based on specific criteria, and approve the use of CBG funds to gate additional alleys in the community safety and crime prevention plan areas. I also would like to motion that in the installation of the gates includes a wall-to-wall cleaning of each gated alley by our Public Works Department, and that those alley segments that we were not entirely cleaned are revisited by Public Works to conduct a full cleaning.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you guys so much for all of your hard work. And we will move to our final item, which is item 10, the Solid Waste Resource Infrastructure and Financial Plan for fiscal years 22 through 27, and a solid waste transfer station gate rate update. We will start with Deputy City Manager Karen Peters in the Public Works Department.
Good morning, Chairwoman. Unfortunately, Karen is not here, so you're stuck with me, Joe Giudice, Public Works Director. I couldn't help but notice we were talking about gates, and we were talking about water rates, and here I have a slide that's going to say gate rate on it. That's definitely not planned. So joining me here this morning is Assistant Public Works Director Mr. Felipe Moreno and Deputy Public Works Director Ms. Brandy Barrett. We're here to give you an update on our solid waste financial plan, and we will include a recommendation for consideration to the full council for our transfer station commercial dumping fees, or what we often call the gate rate. One more thing, we will also include a recommendation for a lesser known fee that's in our program called the solid waste disposal permit fee. So we'll be covering both of those in just a moment. Before I turn the presentation over, I did want to just quickly provide an update on recruitment, because that's been a common question when I've come before you. So I'm pleased to report that our vacancy rate for solid waste equipment operators is at or below 8% as of last week. We continue to have great progress. We have 20 additional candidates in various stages of the onboarding process, which would bring our vacancies to within our target range of 4% or lower if we're able to get most of those folks on board. So also happy to report that the drivers are able to work more reasonable work hours. We're not all the way where we need to be, but we certainly have made tremendous progress. I want to thank you all for your support and encouragement over the past several months to help us get here. So thank you for that. I'm going to turn it over to Brandy.
Thank you very much, Joe, and good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. I'm really excited to be with you today to discuss the status of the Solid Waste Fund and the measures the utility is taking to make sure that our residents continue to stay satisfied with our services. The Solid Waste Financial 5-Year Plan provides for repair, replacement, and development of infrastructure at the city's landfills, transfer stations, and material recovery facilities. Those are the recycling facilities. And that's to meet regulatory and service requirements. It also provides for all of the resources that are necessary for us to continue to provide reliable service to our residents. It ensures a reliable fleet to allow for effective collection. It supports our debt service, and finally, and very importantly, it allows us to maintain our minimum operating reserve, which is critical to maintain our bond rating and to ensure financial resilience. I'll start with the revenues. The solid waste utility has 3 major revenue sources. The first is the residential revenue, and this is the monthly fee for household service. I'm pleased that Phoenix continues to remain a desirable city, and folks are continuing to move here and start services with the city. We are projecting a $3.1 million increase over the prior year actuals, and so that remains our greatest source of revenue. Another major source of revenue is disposal fees. This is also known as the gate rate. The utility is also seeing growth in our customer use in this category, and so we are currently projecting at $700,000 higher than prior year actuals. And finally, recycling revenue. As you know, recycling is a commodity, and prices do fluctuate with the market. Last year was a very good year for commodity prices, and this year we are projecting a $3.5 million decrease over prior year actuals due to 2 main factors. Firstly, we are seeing a significant decrease in fiber prices, so that's paper and cardboard. And also, the City of Scottsdale and Republic Services are going to be returning to use of the Republic Services Material Recovery Facility now that it is back online. So in summary, revenues are stable and projecting just about where we anticipated. Moving on to the expenditure side. The current fiscal year budget is $165.6 million. 93% of that is planned to be spent on operations and maintenance, and 7% for vehicles. 5 years ago, inflation for U.S. garbage and trash collection in the United States was sitting around 2.2%, and as of January, it was at 6.6%. So due to rising costs in labor, fuel, and materials, solid waste is projecting to spend the budget in full this fiscal year. However, this utility has significantly decreased vehicle acquisition in the short term and implemented efficiencies to ensure that expenditures do not exceed the budget. It is noteworthy to mention that the current projection does not reflect any costs associated with the Human Resources Department classification and compensation study that is expected out later this year. And now on to our capital improvement program. The 5-year CIP provides for infrastructure improvements at our transfer stations and landfills, environmental regulatory landfill gas and groundwater monitoring, equipment replacement at the city's 2 material recovery facilities, technology infrastructure, and percent for art projects. The preliminary CIP expenditures are projected to be $84 million for our financial plan. As you can see by the pie chart, that the largest projects are projects for SR 85 and city's transfer stations in terms of project categories. I'll start with the transfer station projects. There are 9 projects in the CIP that support our transfer stations and material recovery facilities, and the most critical is the 27th Avenue Material Recovery Facility upgrade. And that upgrade is going to provide state-of-the-art equipment that will result in improved processing speed, the ability for us to capture new materials, to the opportunity for us to capture more materials and materials of higher quality, and to reduce our maintenance costs. Moving on to the landfills, the CIP also supports the city's open and closed landfills. There are 5 projects in the CIP that support the SR 85 landfill. That's the city's currently operational landfill. The most critical of those is the Cell 2 excavation and lining project. And that project as the name insinuates, that you clear out space, so you move earth materials and then you line it. And that creates some new volume space for waste or airspace for solid waste tonnage. I did bring a little bit of a show and tell to demystify landfill liners here. And the reason I did that, and I can share this later as well, is that I wanted to give kudos to our solid waste and public works procurement and landfill teams, because they saved the city $450,000 on this. Rather than proceeding with our CMAR purchasing the geosynthetic liner at a 15% markup, they saw the opportunity to save the city money. We direct purchased it, and that resulted in savings to this project. And I'm just so proud to work alongside a team who are so efficient with our customer resources. So in that vein, solid waste staff have reviewed and streamlined the CIP, again, to ensure expenditures do not exceed the available resources. And now I'd like to hand the presentation over to Felipe to discuss some of the current economic challenges the Solid Waste Fund is experiencing.
Thank you, Brandy. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Not unlike the rest of the nation, we've had significant economic impacts that have hit the solid waste utility. In our area alone, this fiscal year, we're looking at $11 million in unanticipated costs, as well as another $5 million next fiscal year that we're looking to project in costs that we didn't currently budget for or weren't anticipated within our forecast. Those center around three major things. We are, as a utility, people, materials, and fuel. And so obviously people are the lifeblood of what we do. And so that we've seen significant costs in a couple areas. One in overtime, because as you know, our solid waste equipment operators and frontline staff are putting in lots of hours to maintain service to our public, as well as the pay adjustments that were made through the leadership of our mayor and city council, along with our human resources department and city manager, to attract, retain, and hire solid waste equipment operators and other essential staff. And so those costs are baked into some of the unanticipated costs that we've experienced, as well as materials, whether it's commodities, the cost of containers, the cost of our trucks and equipment, as well as construction costs for our capital projects that Brandy had outlined in our CIP. Those have all gone up significantly. And then fuel. We've all felt that at the pump ourselves, and so our garbage trucks are not immune to that, or the equipment or hauling trucks that take our material to the landfill 60 miles away. And so those are the major areas that we're feeling the pressure. Our transfer stations, both at North Gateway and at 27th Avenue, along with our landfill operations, have also felt this pinch. And so one of the things we've done is work with our Solid Waste Rate Advisory Committee to better understand what this impact's looking like for our operations day to day. And so our Rate Advisory Committee had asked us to evaluate any shortfalls and look at our gate rate to see, are we covering our costs and what it would take to ensure that our costs are being whole to maintain those operations. And in doing that, we did that analysis, and we came back to the Solid Waste Rate Advisory Committee in December with a recommendation to adjust the gate rate, one, to ensure that we're covering our operational costs at our transfer stations, and two, that we're ensuring that the costs are covered through the users of the facility and not on the backs of our residential rate fee paying customers. And with that, what we took forward and what was approved for recommendation to the council by our Solid Waste Rate Advisory Committee on December 1st was an adjustment of $44 per ton, which is the current gate rate, to $55 per ton. Again, this would cover our operational costs and adjust for any future inflationary costs that we see in the near future, as well as ensuring that we're not putting extra pressure on the residential rate while we do this. A couple things I want to call out. One, that we do have what we call a certified clean green rate, and this is really something used by a lot of our smaller businesses and landscaping companies. And this is a way to incentivize green waste diversion to help with our zero waste goals, as well as to provide an incentive for customers and smaller businesses that do the landfill work or landscaping work to have a different rate. And so that rate we are not looking to adjust. We are looking to keep in place as is. And we want to continue to promote that rate for our small businesses and landscapers to know that that's out there, to have that other option in terms of the gate rate. We also offer and remind our residents that Phoenix residents have one free ton per year that they can bring, or per month, I'm sorry, yeah, not per year, per month to the transfer stations. And so that also is in place. So any adjustments to the commercial gate rate would not impact residential privileges and benefits coming to the transfer stations once per month for free. And then the other piece I know the chairwoman had mentioned, and we are equally concerned, is to ensure that illegal dumping is not becoming a more prevalent problem. And so we are continuing to have eyes out there, work through our environmental specialists to create more vigilance in areas that are most prevalent to illegal dumping, and continue to monitor that impact as we look through the gate. The other fee that Joe had mentioned earlier, a smaller fee, is a $5 customer permit fee for our transfer stations. So when customers come in and they use the facilities habitually, we ask that they register and pay a one-time $5 permitting fee to use the facilities. This is something that we're looking to eliminate and to just roll into the new. We factored that into the new gate rate analysis. And so with that, we are requesting the Community and Cultural Investment Subcommittee to recommend City Council approval to raise the disposal fee for commercial customers from $44 per ton to $55 per ton with an effective date of May 5th, 2023. So this would allow for us to post, if approved today for recommendation to the full council, post for 60 days, go to an April 5th full council agenda, and then from there we would want to have the 30 days to ensure that we are communicating with our customers of the change, allow them to make any adjustments, and prepare for any gate rate adjustments for the future. So that would take us to the May 5th implementation date. Additionally, we are requesting subcommittee to recommend City Council approval to eliminate the solid waste disposal permit fee of $5 with an effective date of May 5th as well. And with that, we'd be happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you for that. I have a couple, just a couple of questions. Can you speak a little bit about the Clean Green program and how you'll incentivize the diversion of green waste ending up in our dump?
Great question, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. So this isn't a new fee, but I think to a lot of businesses or people who move into the city, they don't know about it. And so we want to do extra work in the way of our social media posts, our environmental specialists out in the community who are interacting with the public, as well as all of our channels within the city, and even posting more signage at our transfer stations to ensure, and in the scale houses when people come up, hey, do you know about this program, to ensure that people are bringing awareness, or we're bringing awareness to the public about the certified clean green rate. And again, this is allowing people to, basically they learn about diversion, learn about what's acceptable to be composted at our composting facility. So it's a quick tutorial on how to be green, so to speak, in their practice. And then that would allow them to have a reduced rate of $33 at our 27th Avenue transfer station and $37 at our North Gateway. So that's a significant discount than what the gate rate is and what it would continue to be if we were to raise the gate rate. And so we want to just really make sure people are aware of that service. And again, that does target a lot of our smaller businesses that use the transfer station. So we'll be very aggressive in making sure that we're getting the word out and bringing that awareness and rebranding for those who might not already know it exists.
And then my other question or comment, I would ask that the Public Works Department research a progressive gate rate system to ensure that we minimize the financial impact on our residents and small businesses, given that we just talked about illegal dumping and other work that we're doing to gate alleys. I just think I'm a little bit nervous about that. And I also believe that Phoenix solid waste customers are eligible, like you said, for one trip per month of up to a ton of garbage to the transfer station. And that program is going to stay, right?
Correct.
And is it going to stay? This doesn't affect the rates. It doesn't affect anything. This just stays the same.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, you are correct. That has been a long-standing practice, allowing the one free ton for our residents a month. That basically is covered in the residential rate as well, and so that would not be affected, and we have no plans to change that. And to your other point, we do have a spring meeting coming up with our Solid Waste Rate Advisory Committee, and we can absolutely take your recommendation for us to do that analysis and see what that would do in terms of ensuring that we stay fiscally sound with our transfer stations and how something like that would play out, and then we could come back with that information.
And then I also think there's a lot of people that know that they can bring in their garbage once a month, but then they forget, life happens, and I just think if we are able to put something in our water bill or get something out to folks just as a reminder just remember, once a month, you can still come out and do one free dumping here with us. I think that would be great. Are there other questions or comments? So with that, I would like to make a motion to approve item 10's new disposal fee for commercial customers at the transfer stations and landfill with an effective date of May 5th, 2023, and that the Public Works Department research the implementation of a progressive fee system with the intention of minimizing the economic impact of these future fees increases on low-income residents and small businesses registered in the city of Phoenix. Additionally, I motion to recommend City Council approval to eliminate the solid waste disposal permit fee with an effective date of May 5th, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you guys so much for all of your work. And with that, I would like to thank all of the presentations and the discussions. It's been great. I think we had really great things come to this meeting today. We now have another opportunity for the public to speak at today's meeting. Are there any members of the public that have joined us that would like to speak?
We do not have any additional speakers.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And then also now we have one opportunity. I would like to ask my colleagues if there's anything that they would like to see in the meeting for March. Okay, and with that, I would like to see an update on the park rangers and also an update on the overnight privatized security contract at specific city parks. Do anyone else have anything? Okay, so with that, thank you guys so much, and we are adjourned.
For the years, we discussed at the consulate how important it was to start a direct route between these two cities for many reasons. And finally, it's a